with us from Busch Stadium in St. Louis as the Cardinals try to snap their three-game losing streak. It's a brief two-game set, and the Pirates make their way to St. Louis. They're 2 games below the 500, and the Cardinals have a 2-game lead in the Central. On deck before our first pitch, a look at the matchups in this series. Top 5 plays of the year. 1 year ago today, we'll take you to Denver. And quite a day for Rick Ankiel, and also get an update on his health with Jim Hayes. With Al Hrabowski, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Welcome to the broadcast booth and welcome to Cardinals baseball. Cardinals trying to snap this losing streak, Al, and of course it begins with the starters here tonight.
And you know, once again, they're going to have a very tough customer in Zach Duke. 3-2 overall, good ERA, but even better on the road, 2-0 and an ERA just at 1.25. Mitchell Boggs has been a pleasant surprise, so we hope that continues. And Wellemeyer looked much better his last time out. But Mitchell Boggs, you can just tell, he feels like he belongs in the big leagues now. His breaking ball is so much sharper. The fastball's got a little zip on it, and hopefully good things will continue.
So Mitchell Boggs will get the start tonight for the St. Louis Cardinals. The lefty, Zach Duke, for the Pirates. When we come back, an update on Rick Ankiel and also take you back to a mile-high flashback. Strong left arm in center. You'll remember when you see it. Busch Stadium filling up that sea of red here in downtown St. Louis as the Pirates are in town. It's game 1 of this 2-game series in the Gateway City. And welcome back to the broadcast booth. Delighted to have you with us as we get you set for baseball. Our first pitch about 10 minutes away. When you think about Rick Ankiel, what first comes to mind certainly the injury from the other night. But a year ago from tonight, we flash back Denver, Colorado, and 2 of the most memorable defensive plays that we had all season. This is the first throw. Ankiel to Troy Gloss. Right on the bat. Even more impressive a little bit later. Sit back and watch this. On a fly to Gloss. An amazing play from center fielder Rick Ankiel. Let's go downstairs. Jim Hayes had a chance to visit with Rick Ankiel, and Rick obviously seems to be in good spirits, Jim, in that interview.
Yeah, he said he's watched tape of that horrific collision about 40 times, and he says it's given him a renewed appreciation of the day-to-day. He says health-wise, he's sore, very sore. He considers himself day-to-day, but Danny says there's still a chance he could wind up on the DL. For the time being, he's just happy to be up and around. Coming up, we'll take a look at the plays of the year to date. There's been some good ones. Cardinal baseball straight ahead on Fox Sports Midwest.
Back in St. Louis, the Pirates are here. The Cardinals and the Pirates, game 1 of this 2-game series. It is early, but we have taken a look at the top 5 plays so far for the Cardinals in 09. Let's go. Tyler Green gets up to first. He got him! Oh, what a terrific play!
And a beautiful play by Schumacher. Oh, my.
And Mott, that's out number 2. Runner will tag up from second to third. And the throw may get away. It will. Thurston trying to apply the tag to the plate, and oh, they got him. He didn't slide. He's out at the plate. Sheffield, right center on the move. Rick Ankiel, can he get there? Dives! Oh, what a play from Rick Ankiel!
You know, sometimes today's players play for the highlight reel.
Wow!
And you see them dive when they don't need to. But that was flat out just an outstanding play.
Colby Rasmus is on first. Ankiel at second. Barden at third. The pitch by Patton. A swing, and there it goes! It's a slam for Pujols. Way out of here over the bullpen in left center.
Is he something or what? Man, oh man, oh man. This place is on fire.
Top 5 plays of 2009. We're back with more in the Gateway City. The Pirates and the Cardinals just around the corner on Fox Sports Midwest. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light, with just the right taste that never fills you up. The difference is drinkability. By Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. By Auto Tire, for the lowest prices in town, we shop the competitors so you don't have to. And by Chevy, see your Mid-America Chevy dealers or shop and compare at stlchevy.com. Rookie right-hander Mitchell Boggs getting the start tonight here in St. Louis against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Right now it is gorgeous for baseball. It's absolutely perfect. Let's take a look at the Pirates lineup. We've already seen them this year in that opening series to begin the season. Nyjer Morgan, the speedster at the top, and then Freddie Sanchez leads the National League with 12 doubles and 17 extra base hits. Nate McLouth, an all-star a year ago, then Adam LaRoche, Delwyn Young, Andy LaRoche, Ramon Vasquez, Jason Jaramillo, and Zach Duke. And there's a look at fresh from Memphis about 2.5 weeks ago or so, Mitchell Boggs, and his numbers brought to you by Marshall Wireless.
All right, came in, he made a bullpen assignment in Chicago. Then his next start was against the Cubbies. He defeated them. A no decision against Washington, but he pitched well, including a career high 9 strikeouts in 6 innings. So let's see what we get.
Tony La Russa said the net outing was outstanding, is the way that he put it, and Boggs is 1-0. You see the outfield. This is the Auto Tire defense for the Cardinals. Joe Thurston shifting to second base tonight. Skip Schumacher's on the bench. Boggs and Molina, that's the battery for St. Louis. This will be our Domino's first pitch of the game to Nyjer Morgan, who had a nice opening series against the Cardinals to begin this year. Made a fine play in left field on that sidewall and also had a few extra base hits, and the first pitch is a strike. This is the final visit for the Pirates this year here to St. Louis.
That's strange, where
sure is.
They've already been here twice. We will go to Pittsburgh on the second city of that 2-city trip that starts Friday in Cincinnati.
First of 3 in Cincinnati, and that's John Russell, their manager, off day on Monday, and then we'll play the first of 3 against the Buccos, and then we return home for a nice stretch of 9 games. John Russell's second season as the Pirates manager. You have to pitch to win, and this team is really starting to come together as far as their pitching staff is concerned.
Sure have, Dan. They've always had a promising staff, but they never materialized. But this year, those young pitchers are starting to perform and, you know, pitch quality starts, good outings, including tonight's starter Duke.
And there's a strikeout. 9 in his last start, as Al told you, and now he picks up his first tonight.
Anytime you can get someone to chase the ball to the strike zone, they're set up inside, the ball completely on the other side of the plate, but the results are good enough, a swing and a miss.
Freddie Sanchez, the second baseman. You see that Mitchell Boggs works from the third base side of the rubber as he steps back and then delivers. It's 65 degrees right now in St. Louis. Beautiful. Sanchez returning to the form that made him a batting champion a few years ago. Popped up and out of play.
Health part of that equation, Dan, is he's battled shoulder and leg injuries the last couple of years, but when he's healthy, he's not going to hit for a lot of power, but he'll spray the ball around and he'll bleed you to death.
Jack Wilson not in their lineup. They expect him possibly by the weekend. And Matt Capps, who is kind of an understated closer but gets the job done, he's unavailable for this series as well.
And then you take Doman out of that lineup. That's a big portion with Wilson and Doman out.
Jack Wilson was here early. There he is, the former Cardinal fireman, part of the Jason Christensen deal back in 2000. He was taking ground balls at around 3 o'clock here at the ballpark. 3-2.
Talked with Brad Henderson before the game, and it was what he indicated. It was this weekend that Jack Wilson will go out on a rehab and then join the ball club for the series in Pittsburgh against the Cardinals on Tuesday.
That is pulled fair over the bag at third. Over to get it, Duncan, and this will be a double for Freddie Sanchez. Another extra base hit, now 18 on the year, as he almost caught the umpire.
Already his 13th double. It looked like Molina set up outside, the ball inside, and Brian O'Nora holds his position long enough to make that call and then gets out of kind of a holdover, or this umpiring crew has stayed over.
2-game set, why not?
Right.
You know, some people say, wait a minute, I saw that ball on the other side of the line, the chalk, but it's where it goes over the bag. And clearly it was over the bag.
There's a game recently I saw where the debate was who had the call. It's usually the home plate umpire until third base, and then once it's beyond third base, it's the third base umpire's call.
Nate McLouth is the hitter. McLouth, an all-star last year. And a look at our umpires tonight: Field and Colbreth, Chad Fairchild, Jim Wolf, and Brian O'Nora.
I'm sure, like the ball players, these umpires prefer to stay over a couple extra days instead of moving after 2.
That's what you get, though, with the unbalanced schedule. You get 2-game series. You get rainouts in Washington that may not be made up because you never go back. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And Houston had a suspended game in Washington. A pitcher's duel suspended in the 5th, 10-10. Ouch.
And Oswalt started that game for the Astros, and apparently, was it a thumb injury?
Finger injury, thumb injury, yeah. 2-2. Calling it a bone bruise. Nice crowd on hand here tonight on this Wednesday night in St. Louis.
Imagine we'll have a nice crowd tomorrow afternoon.
Hopefully the rain will stay away and we'll have a nice day and get that ball game in. 2-2 pitch. Off speed. Popped up. Shallow right. Ludwig, long way to go. Near the line. Makes the catch. I'm not sure. I didn't see. Did he initially break back?
I did not see that, but it sure looked like he had to make up an awful lot of ground at the last second. Did not get a good read, but made up that ground and territory, really hustling. And he just kind of went lateral a little bit. Didn't go back, but he went across and then started coming in and makes the play.
I mentioned it last night. You see Ludwig, the fundamentally sound player that he is. I know they're major leaguers, but 2 hands. I mean, just the little things that he does.
I don't think we ever will get, we'll never criticize anyone, and we never get tired of seeing a fielder, an outfielder in particular, catch the ball with 2 hands.
There's Adam LaRoche.
How about you, Dan? Did you have that flash, catch it with 1 hand, or snap down on the ball?
Oh, I was Ricky Henderson.
You were Ricky Henderson. Okay.
Yeah.
You could have had a little Soriano with the hop, too.
Oh, yeah. Did a lot of that, too. That went over well. Problem was I had to get there first. And that was always an issue. And then if I got there, did I judge it right? You know, I may have overrun it to, you know, the heel of my glove, whatever the case may be. And that's why I'm here and not there.
Well, there's a reason why I'm here, too.
No balls and 2 strikes on Adam LaRoche.
After they ripped the jersey off,
yes,
they gave me a shirt and tie.
They did give you a shirt and tie and a coat. Now you're up here. Ooh, a check swing, and he went. Strikeout. Just a few minutes ago, it was Mitchell Boggs and Dave Duncan and Yadier Molina making their way from the bullpen and getting set for the start tonight. No score after a half inning. A double by Freddie Sanchez. He was left stranded in the top of the first, and now the Cardinals come up in their half. And a look at the lineup with the pitcher batting 8th tonight. Barden, Thurston, and Pujols. Ludwig last night was 2 for 4 with a home run. Molina, Duncan, Green, Boggs, and Colby Rasmus serving as that second leadoff man when you hit the pitcher eighth.
And Tony usually does that when he thinks the team's going to have trouble scoring runs.
And Barden rips one foul. Schumacher again is on the bench, so not in that leadoff spot. A look at Zach Duke's numbers, and this is brought to you by Marshall Wireless. That ERA would be even lower if you take away one start in which he gave up 6 runs.
Exactly. That was against Atlanta. He's already defeated the Cardinals, and that one complete game was against Houston, a shutout.
Barden waits on it, lines it into center. The catch is made by McLeod. Pittsburgh's defense presented by Auto Tire. Morgan, McLeod, Delwyn Young in right. LaRoche, Vasquez, Sanchez, and Adam LaRoche. Andy over third, Adam at first. Zach Duke and Paramillo, the battery tonight for the Pirates. So what's been the difference with Zach Duke?
Well, he kind of rededicated himself this offseason. Lost a little bit of weight, but I think it was the learning experience after losing 14 games a year ago. And, you know, he started the season at 25. He turned 26 on April the 19th. And I think after a while, you just say, hey, I'm going to turn it around. He's always had the talent.
A good one, yeah. Started out very well when he came to the major leagues.
Sure. And, you know, he has a complete game victory against the Cardinals. In that opening series where the Pirates were 2-2 against the Cardinals, he stopped the 4-game losing streak against the Redbirds.
Last year, such a rough season, 5-14 and 31 starts. He did pitch over 200 innings, but tied for 4th in losses and allowed the 2nd most hits a year ago. Joe Kerrigan has preached pitching inside as they set up outside on that pitch, but to accentuate the point, they had a dummy in spring training, and he actually had the dummy with him in the first series. I'm not sure if he has it now, but they'll put it and set it up in the bullpen and say pitch inside. If you hit the dummy, you hit him. The pitch inside. Popped up. Foul ground and taken by Andy LaRoche. We had a tough first series against the Cardinals. Starters tonight. Duke 3-2, Boggs 1-0. Look at their ERAs and guys that can get strikeouts. 21 for Duke in 36 and 2/3 innings. One guy who has given him fits, though, is this man Pujols. 11 for 25, 3 doubles and a home run. He launched one last night against Brad Lidge.
Duke and a lot of these young starters were easy pickings for Albert in the past, but Albert feasted on him in that first series.
And he unloads again. Left center, gone. 1-0 Cardinals. Pujols, 11th of the season. Last 2 at bats, 2 home runs for Albert. A rocket.
Like you see him batting third, so he can come up, guaranteed to come up in the first inning and do what he just did, give you an instant and a quick lead. One thing they want to do as a team offensively, they want to have Duke get the ball up. When he does so, you have a better chance of centering the ball and getting the line drive. Look at that swing and the ball up there. You see it a lot better. And a pitch up in the zone is going to be hit hard. When he keeps the ball down, he has a lot better movement.
Well, that got out in a hurry, didn't it?
Wasn't quite as quick as last night's, but it was quick enough.
Man, last night's was high and deep. Lidge knew it. This one, more of a line drive. So Pujols makes it 1-0. Here's another look. Couple of seconds and 1-0 lead. Here's Ludwig, and he'll take a strike. 3-1 the count with 2 outs. 7 home runs and 23 RBIs for the Cardinal cleanup man. Just when you think that Pujols might be in a little bit of a rut, Lidge comes in, gives up a monstrous home run last night, and he starts out tonight with a line drive shot over the wall in left center. 1-0 after an inning of play. Albert Pujols' home run makes it 1-0 Cardinals as we move to the second. Our Toyota keys to the game, Al.
You can see Albert is hitting better than their top 2 hitters combined. Albert, the average, superior by far, but look at more home runs and more RBIs than McLeod and LaRoche.
Delwyn Young leads it off. Could be quite a home run derby with Albert Pujols and Ryan Howard here in St. Louis this year.
With a little intermission at the All-Star break.
You got it. Young has been one of their better pinch hitters this year, and he gets a start tonight. And a base hit to left. The Cardinals lose that series and are swept by the Phillies with 2 of their better starters on the mound with Wainwright last night. Cal Loge in game 1. That's a bit disappointing.
Very disappointing. And particularly last night, you had enough run support that you should win those games. But Cardinals have allowed, the starting staff allowed the fewest home runs in the major leagues. But in that series, you wouldn't know it.
Victorino last night, Worth. We saw Ryan Howard in his grand slam in the first game. That was the difference against Loge. 1-0 Cardinals. We're in the second inning. And here is Andy LaRoche. Let's see if he is starting to settle in a little bit. 1 home run, 11 RBIs, and hitting .253. He had a horrific first series against the Cardinals.
And 3 errors in the first couple games, wasn't it?
Yeah. Didn't hit. He seemed like he came up with the situations to do some damage and didn't do it. 2 balls and 1 strike. A couple of years ago, he was the Dodgers' #1 prospect in their minor league system.
Committed 3 errors in the first 2 games of the season and has not committed an error in the last 21 games. So more of an indication of how he can play defense. He just looked lost, and they took him off the third base bag there, Martin Hinsky.
John Russell pulled him aside, just said, relax. You're part of the big league club. Don't look over your shoulder. And since then, for the most part, he has.
And his bat's come alive.
Here's a 2-1. Let's see what they want to do here with 3 balls and 1 strike. A lot of times you'll see Tony La Russa with a young player that's struggling. He'll put a hit and run on just to make sure that they're swinging and commit to it.
And a lot of times you want to send that runner, but Molina kind of negates it.
Misses in, so a leadoff base hit, now the walk. First 2 have reached. Brings in Ramon Vasquez. Well, if you're traveling and can't catch the Cardinals TV broadcast, catch all the action on your computer at MLB.tv. Catch over 100 live out-of-market games per week. For complete details, visit STLCardinals.com, where baseball is always on. Boggs just seems like he belongs this year as opposed to what we saw last year.
You can't emphasize enough how that first time you're around the players, you're a little bit of awe of them, even your own teammates. Then you go back down, you come to spring training the next year, you feel like, you know, hey, they know you, you know them. But this time he seems like he belongs here.
Seems like tonight, at least early, the curveball has been a little bit of a struggle.
And that's the pitch that we saw a lot of progression on. You know, he had a game against Kansas City last year that we saw that breaking ball and what a big pitch it was. But since he's come up this time, it's been a real weapon for him.
1 ball, 1 strike. We have not seen the best from Adam Wainwright. The walks have been high, and yet he finds a way to win games, just not last night, even when he doesn't have his best stuff. And he said afterwards that he thought his stuff was pretty good.
Not making very good pitches, but you're right. He was 3-0, and you knew that probably was not going to continue, and end up giving up 7 runs. That 3-run home run in the middle innings when the Cardinals had gotten back, battled back to a 1-run deficit, was a killer.
2 balls and 1 strike. We'll have day baseball for you tomorrow here on Fox Sports Midwest. Wrap up the series, then head to Cincinnati. 2-2.
Took a little off that one. Got the breaking ball over for a foul ball.
And all these starts are so vital for a guy like Boggs, knowing that Carpenter is just around the corner, it seems like, and the news keeps on getting better and better. But even if he doesn't stay in the rotation, you stay in the big leagues.
That's a real tough thing for you, is you can't look over your shoulder.
Here's a ground ball and a double play ball. Green, and on to first, a double play. Seemed to take a little tricky hop there for Khalil Green. There's Carpenter pictured there on your screen in the Redbird dugout. Good to see Khalil back in that starting lineup.
Just about 6 games with the wrist tendonitis. Swing the bat a couple times during that time, and Chris Carpenter continues to throw on flat ground and slowly going to make his way to the mound, I believe, on this road trip.
Maybe even this this weekend.
Yeah, in Cincinnati
right.
this weekend.
Jason Jaramillo is the batter. Hits from the left side.
I tried to see if he was related to Rudy, and there's no mention of Rudy Jaramillo, the outstanding hitting coach. Is he with Texas again?
Texas. This kid is from Wisconsin,
and then he went to Oklahoma State.
Right. They were saying on the recent trip to Milwaukee, he's like a folk hero. He's from that area, and the state just loves him. 1 ball, 1 strike, 2 outs, and a runner at third. Cardinals leading on a Pujols home run. Saw Green start the double play. Tony La Russa was saying yesterday that he probably could have started him, but they wanted to give him 1 more day, and the issue is not swinging the bat or running or any of those kind of things. It's throwing the baseball. A little tendonitis, the wrist area of the forearm, and essentially he's been dealing with this now for a number of weeks, and it just really flared up on the recent road trip for the Cardinals.
It'd be a little problem when you're shortstop.
Got to throw the ball.
Pretty active position. Jaramillo is a switch hitter, batting .300 from both sides.
And he takes a walk, and that's 2 in the inning. And it brings in Zach Duke, the pitcher. That will frustrate Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan as well.
And as a pitcher, you know you've got that 8th place hitter up. You got a pitcher on deck. You just never want to concede in walking. You really want to bury that 8th place guy and then give you a leg up the next inning facing the pitcher. You really have to believe that your stuff is better than his, and we've got an out before you get into the more dangerous hitters.
That's another curveball that's way outside. It's almost like he's not on top of it. It's floating.
Talked about a lot of these guys that, you know, their arms dragging a little bit and they never really catch up and finish off their pitch.
And that's low. 2 balls, no strikes. Out to visit Molina. Just trying to slow him down. Go over the situation. You've got the pitcher up here, 1st and 3rd. You got your double play. Come back and get this guy and regroup.
Sometimes you give a hitter or your opposing pitcher way too much credit.
Zach Duke at the plate. 20th selection overall back in 2001. Their 2-time minor league all-star, their pitcher of the year in 2004. That's nowhere close. 3-0.
Dave Duncan already getting frustrated. Can't repeat a delivery and have that consistent strike zone.
And that's nowhere close. 3 walks by Boggs here in the second. And it brings in Niger Morgan out to visit now Dave Duncan. Part psychologist, I guess, at this point with a young pitcher, and also trying to help him mechanically too.
Part psychologist, part dad, part father confessor, and then part lecturer. You have to be a psychologist to get in the head to know which guys you need to kind of kick them in the rear end, and which guys you just treat like they're still in diapers. They're still pampering them.
So Young, Jaramillo, and Duke all aboard for Niger Morgan.
Remember, Morgan's speed, not a good position to have to face him.
Went 6 for 15 in the previous series against the Cardinals, and he's taking all the way. He was in the 4 games last month here at Busch Stadium. Overall, he's hit safely in 9 of his last 12 away from PNC Park. 347. That just caught the corner. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You and I were both taught, when a guy walks, goes into a spell like this, and you walk, then you take a strike, right? Talking with Tony La Russa, he's almost the opposite of that. Wants his hitters to be very aggressive with any pitch in the strike zone.
You see that a lot too with Tony's pinch hitters. They are told be aggressive early. Don't take a strike. Which we were taught, take a strike. There's a liner up the middle, base hit. 1 run in. Here comes another. Throw from center is on line, but yes, they got it. The throw from center fielder Colby Erasmus on 1 hop to Yadier Molina. So an RBI. Molina blocking the plate. Initially, looking at this, you thought maybe that he beat the throw, but Yadier Molina, as you will see in a great view, blocked the plate and applied the tag, and it was a right call.
The left leg goes out there, seals off the plate, and it really looked like Jaramillo was going to get around that left leg, but watch right there. It slides into it, it stops it cold, and he misses the home plate. So a very good call by our home plate umpire. And nice footwork by Yadi, and by far the best throw we've seen from Rasmus this year. On the anniversary of Ankiel's 2 great throws.
That's right. The Exmo Cam brought to you by Hot Shots, and here's Yadier Molina hitting .322, and Tony La Russa puts him in the 5th spot in this lineup for the Cardinals this evening. And why not? He's developing into a pretty good hitter.
3 home runs, 13 RBIs to go with that lofty batting average. Had a career high batting total last year, just over 300, and 20 points or so higher this year.
1 ball, 1 strike on Molina. The breaking ball, and you can see Zach Duke has got a pretty good one when he gets it going.
You can also see why Hal McRae says you've got to get him to get the ball up, whether it's that breaking ball or his fastball. But if you see that breaking ball and it starts out belt high, it's just going to break down below the strike zone. By purpose, they wanted that pitch up.
It's backhanded by Vasquez. He played for Team Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic, so he knows about the foot speed of Molina and gets him. So Zach Duke, put up your Dukes. Career road games, and you see from 06 to 08, 4-22. This year, much better, 2-0, 1.23 ERA. 2005, his first season, he was 8-2. In 06, 215 innings, but went 10-15 and gave up 255 hits that year. That was most in the league. 07, he was 3-8, and he was their opening day starter that year, and then last year 5-14.
And a lot of these Pittsburgh starters, their first year, or when they first partial year, they come to the big leagues and they really perform well. Everyone gets excited about it, and I don't know, as a collective group, whether they, you know, just kind of got used to losing and accepted that. But this year, they're all kind of growing up together and are trying to put a stop to that losing streak, and they look like they're going to accomplish it.
That's hit hard on the ground to second. Sanchez there. We've talked about how a pitching coach can make a difference, certainly here in St. Louis with some of the reclamation projects that Dave Duncan has had. And Joe Kerrigan, you know, even though they're young, these are guys that have not had great success, but he's trying to get them over the hump.
Well, Kerrigan has had a lot of success in his brief pitching, coach career, and not trying to reinvent the wheel, but try, what he's found looking at all the tape this winter is exactly what other pitching coaches have found too. But sometimes the messenger says it a little different way, and you start making that transition and translation, and they start getting it.
There's Green. He had the bases loaded last night and flied out to deep center.
Old school, you didn't need a dummy. You just had that guy up there, and you learned that if you miss inside, or you hit him, so be it. See, we're going to try and come in now.
And Green rips it down the left field line. Morgan won't get it. Cuts it off. Khalil digging for two, has to hurry up, in there safely. Always talk about the outfield arms of the opposing team, and Morgan's arm not one of the strongest out there in left.
He had a long way to go. He's playing in the left center, so he has to race, and he's a speedy runner. Look at him get over there. But now he's got to stop, and it takes him a while, set and throw. Khalil Green thought he was just going to coast in there, and he got about halfway, and he saw that he was getting the ball back in quickly, so he kind of turned on those afterburners. But Niger doesn't have that arm strength to where it was going to be a threat.
Mitchell Boggs in a 1-1 game can help his cause. 2 outs here in the bottom of the second. I know you agree with me. The guy that's standing at second base needs to get going. That's Khalil Green.
Boy, would it have been something when he pinch hit last night with the bases loaded. Khalil got the sacrifice fly.
And Duke will step and throw.
But it almost was a grand slam.
1-1 game after 2. Look at Tony La Russa, Dave Duncan. It's a 1-1 game. Well, earlier tonight on the pregame show with Jim Hayes, Rick Ankiel stopped by and gave us an update on how he feels.
I'm very sore, and to be honest, I've never been hit that hard. I've never been this sore, and I think a good way for me to look at it is I'm happy that I'm walking around.
It's Rick Ankiel with Jim Hayes. Let's bring Jim into the conversation. A nice interview with Rick, Jim, and in that pregame interview, he seemed to be, wanted to basically talk about the injury and not just give the standard answers. He seemed to be pretty open about how he felt with the entire situation and how scared he truly was.
I think he is amazed that he wasn't hurt more seriously. He said he watched the tape almost 40 times. He watched it on the pregame show on one of the monitors for the 39th or 40th time. And he said he's sore, very sore, and he considers himself day to day in terms of coming back. He said there's a possibility that he has to go on the DL at some point, but he's just glad to be up on his feet, Dan.
Khalil Green throwing on the run to get Freddie Sanchez. Where did he feel the most pain? Because you hear shoulder, you hear hip, leg. What was it for him?
He said the neck. He said when he hit the wall, he knew the impact on his neck was really great, and he thought he broke his neck. And he said, again, pretty amazing that through everything, he kept his cool and realized, I better not move. I better immobilize my neck in case there's any spinal damage, and that's why he lay out there without motion. But he said that he realized he could move his arms and his legs, and he got some relief from that, but he was still kind of scared.
What stood out in the interview that he told you that you weren't maybe expecting in that interview?
For him to say that watching that collision, it was horrific, has given him sort of a renewed appreciation for the day-to-day, being around the ballpark, talking to his family, talking to his teammates. He said, yeah, it does kind of give him a fresh perspective.
And it's another chapter in an amazing story that is Ricky Ankiel. Nicely done, Jim. Thanks.
Thanks.
It's down the left field line and out of play. I mean, it'd be hard not to open up your eyes and say, how lucky and fortunate am I?
How many chapters to this story?
Yeah,
you know? I mean,
there's more to come.
It's an extensive novel, but you're right. I mean, after his pitching problems, then he decides to, not hang it up and become a position player. Remember, he missed an entire season with a knee injury. He had the elbow problems when he was still pitching also. I mean, he's fought back an awful lot of things, but this one here, I think and they say, when you have the game taken away from you, you get that new appreciation. He'll be back, but he's definitely sore.
Pujols will take it. You have to wonder how gun shy he will be on balls like that.
I think that's not going to be a problem for him. I think he plays with that certain style of all-out play, and he's going to be aware there's a wall back there. But if you get gun shy, that's when you get hurt. It's amazing how the body can protect itself when you play 100%, and you go full bore. Somehow that body protects itself, but when you play safety first, that's when you get hurt.
And he said in Jim's interview, he thought that he was going to have to dive. And then he realized he didn't have to. He's sitting there going full speed, and that's when he tripped the track and then went headfirst into the wall. The 0-1 pitch to LaRoche is popped foul and out of play. It would have to be, though, human nature. No matter if you're running into a wall, running into the sidewall. For instance, Bill Miller at the old Busch Stadium. To have that come into your mind at least at some point, to be a little gun shy at first. It's got to be. It's human
common nature. Yeah, it's common nature, but the athletes are amazing how they can put those things aside.
LaRoche is struck out twice, and it's a 1-1 game. This week on Fox Saturday Baseball, Evan Longoria and the Rays head to Fenway Park to take on David Ortiz and the Red Sox. A showdown between division rivals. It's Fox Saturday Baseball returns this week at a special time of 2:30, following This Week in Baseball at 2, only on Fox. Rasmus, first plate appearance, 9th spot in the lineup. I remember when Aaron Miles would hit in this spot, and I asked him, you take it as a shot? And he says, I don't take it as a shot. He said, but I certainly don't like it. I understand what Tony's trying to do, but that doesn't mean I have to like it.
And Tony talked a lot in spring training that if he employed the pitcher batting 8th, that Rasmus would be a good candidate for the 9th, the second leadoff man, and also to tell him, be a line drive hitter. Don't be trying to hit home runs. That will come with age. But we want to utilize your speed. We want you to be a gap-to-gap type hitter, and don't try to get underneath balls. Then you hit a lot of fly balls that don't go out.
And they feel eventually the home runs will come. Not necessarily this year, but 4 or 5 seasons away. They love his swing. They feel his swing is as compact as a swing can be for a young player at this level. And that's why they don't feel that he's going to have a lot of prolonged slumps.
He's 22 years of age, and Hal McRae will tell you that you're looking at 25, 26 before you start seeing a little bit of that power.
First strikeout for Duke. Well, before the game, speaking of young players, Jose Oquendo, the continuing education of Brendan Ryan. Here we go. Jose Oquendo is taking ground balls at short. All right, young man, step up. Let me see what you got.
Sometimes you feel like you can't do anything right, can you?
Jose was pretty smooth, by the way, at shortstop today, taking those ground balls. He's got those soft hands. 2-0 on Brian Barton.
I will venture to say that the people that come out and watch batting practice and they see Jose when he's taking ground balls, you aren't going to see a whole lot of difference between any slick fielding to everyday player today, and Oquendo now.
I beg pardon my step. He's lined out now, grounded out. Hispanic Heritage Day at the ballpark. You know Jose would be very proud of this. May 16th, the Cardinals host the Brewers. Celebrate Hispanic heritage with a pregame on-field parade. And your ticket includes a pregame buffet and a free souvenir. For tickets, visit STLCardinals.com/Heritage Nights. 314-345-9500.
I hope they play a little better on Hispanic Heritage Day than they do on Cinco de Mayo.
And also on the Washington Heritage Day, the Nationals Hispanic Heritage Day, which was Saturday. Cardinals didn't play very well in that game either.
The Cardinals have now lost 8 straight home games played on the Mexican holiday and 15 of the last 17 overall.
Now, how do you explain that?
Hijola. It's an expression in Spanish. And it's a clean.
I was going to say, is it clean? Hold on here. Gonna have to Google that.
We could ask Garcia, but he doesn't speak Spanish.
Tim's up here with us. 2-1 pitch. Back to Zach Duke. Spins and throws. Cardinals go in order. We play 3 here at Busch, and it's 1-1. 1-1 game as we move to the 4th inning here in St. Louis. Delwyn Young, and he'll look at a strike. Happy birthday, Willie Mays. 78. Willie Mays.
Willie? You ever meet Willie?
Yes, when we were in San Francisco a couple of years ago.
Right.
Very cordial. Is he always like that?
Not always.
Uh-huh.
You know, but he had a great deal of respect for you.
You sure about
Why
that?
are you looking at me so surprised?
No, he came in, remember, with Willie McCovey. Cepeda was there, and Willie Mays, all in our booth one night. And you looked as surprised as I was when we turned around and saw those 3. Thinking, wait a minute, what's going on here? Willie Mays, by the way, was pretty instrumental in getting King Griffey Jr. back to Seattle. King Griffey Jr. called Willie and asked him his thoughts about going to play for the team that he was originally drafted by, and Willie Mays said, you have to do it. Before your career is over, go back to where it all started. As Willie did with the Mets.
It's interesting, and I was just going to make that parallel. It wasn't the Mets, but he was with the Giants when they started in New York.
Right.
Didn't quite work out for the great Willie Mays, and I had a chance to play against him at time, and it was almost, you just felt for him, because here he was a shell of what the great Willie Mays, and couldn't do the things, and that's not the way people want to really remember him.
Started out in the early 50s and finished up in the early 70s with the New York Mets. People say it was almost uncomfortable watching him in center field.
That's what I mean. It just, every aspect, because he was such a graceful athlete, a tremendous, one of the all-time great players, but because of his charisma, he's always put up there as one of the top players of all time, and rightfully so. But at the end with the Mets,
liner into center.
it all comes to an end.
Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest, brought to you by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. By Aflac, we've got you under our wing. And by the Casino Queen, home of the loosest slots. Where's that feature with Jim Hayes and Cody McKay when you need it? You remember that?
Oh, I was thinking the same thing, but
Cody was retired out of baseball.
I can't go to my next thought.
And Jim Hayes went to his
massage therapist.
Right, he's a massage
facility.
therapist. Went there and went to that facility, and Jim did a feature on it.
with limited clothes on.
You know, I was uncomfortable watching Willie Mays in center. It was a little uncomfortable at the end of that feature.
That's a great segue in comparison.
2 balls and no strikes on Vasquez.
Vasquez hit into the double play his first time up, and will ask for the same.
Here's a 2-0 pitch. In the air, right center. Rasmus is back near the wall and makes the catch. Runner from second. Delman Young tags up from second to third. It was a situation where he was, I believe, about halfway and then realized he might get caught, then got back to the bag at second. He probably should have been starting at second base.
It's a good thing that he has good speed. We're talking about Delman Young out there at second, because at one point you see he started to leave, and that was when you knew that Rasmus was going to catch it. I was thinking at that point that, you know, they're not even on a ball on the warning track up against the wall. They're not even going to be able to advance one base. But because of his speed, he was able to do so.
Armio here, 8th place hitter, and then the pitcher on deck. First and third with 1 out. His first time up, he walked, and Mitchell Boggs has walked 4. He's allowed 4 base hits. 1-1 game. That's a strike. In the hole now, 0-2. Let's see if he can put him away. Inning started with a walk, then the single. A long fly out to right center.
Good gap out in right center for.
Tapped out in front of the plate. Molina will go to first, out there. And now with the pitcher coming up, Zach Duke, he can get out of this inning. No hesitation by Molina to even think about going to second.
Go to second base, and if you don't get the double play, they score a run. So you make sure you get one, and by going to first base, it's a much shorter throw for Albert to throw it back to home plate if they want to try and score with the pitcher coming up.
Duke walked his first time up.
If you're going to win games like this, you just may not know how you're going to retire Duke, but you do retire him.
Check swing, and he went. Couldn't hold up. Nice crowd on hand. Game 1 of this 2-game series here at Busch Stadium. 0-1 pitch. Almost to the backstop as he set up outside and got it way inside.
So tough for a catcher when you call from one side of the plate. You assume that a guy's going to be able to throw it to that spot, and then when he totally misses.
A little bit low.
It makes it so difficult to try and catch balls because you just assume they're going to be in the vicinity.
2-1. Two and two.
Remember Daniel Cabrera's game, the Friday night game in Washington, the Nationals pitcher, he was all over the place. And he had 4 wild pitches. I was talking to Dave Duncan about that, and he said, when you're a catcher and you're set up one way, after a while you get a little gun shy. He said Blue Moon Odom was that way. Ball was so lively, you just had no idea where it was going to be.
2-2, got him. A late call, 3rd strike on Zach Duke. Coming up for the Cardinals, the slugger, Albert Pujols, who was homered here tonight. Albert Pujols will dig in for the Cardinals. Let's take a look at the Aflac trivia question. Before last night, when was the last time the Cardinals scored in 5 straight innings at home and lost?
You won't believe this one.
19-17. You're right. I don't. Here's Pujols.
I barely remember it myself.
Some of us up here were talking about catchers, and you can add great perspective to this being a former pitcher, but bouncing around behind home plate when they set up as Molina does. That wasn't a bad pitch, by the way, from Duke. Trying to go in on Pujols, and he just muscled it out there.
Oh, the great strength that he has, that he can fight off pitches that are pretty good pitches and locked in up, up and in.
Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill with the Exmo Cam.
Hit a home run the first time out. Look at him pull his hands in. And so he'll still get somewhat of the good part of the bat on it. Where a lesser hitter would not pull those hands in and swing at that and hit it right off the fist.
Ryan Ludwig, the hitter. Nobody out. Runner at first for the Cardinals here in the fourth. Yadier Molina on deck. But the question was asked as Pujols slides off the bag, and that was his left foot.
Always had some calf situation, but yeah, you're talking about the catcher bouncing around.
Yeah, if that becomes at times for some pitchers a distraction where it bothers them.
It's a good point, because sometimes that catcher is late in moving. Other times, in your mind, you're saying, hey, that hitter with his peripheral vision sees and can react to location.
Jason LaRue was on the pregame show the other night and talked about pounding your glove, let's say here with Ludwig, pounding it on the inside portion of the plate, thinking that he's set up there and then bouncing back outside, but
quietly.
Yeah.
Not that jumping up and down,
which we have seen some catchers do.
To me, Dan, a lot of times, with pitchers and their inability to hit spots. We've seen Mitchell Boggs today, that he's missed locations several times, got away with, and even struck out batters by missing location. Sometimes you wonder why they give such a strong movement left or right. Why not just stay in the middle and just move the glove a little bit, because they don't hit their spots anyway. You can try and tell them where we want it to go, but fastball command is a thing that is lacking today.
A 2-1 pitch. A little bit low. 3-1 on Ludwig.
Ludwig's a good low ball hitter.
Think about starting Pujols here.
I'd love to see it. It's part of the thing, and he's running so well, even with his little ouchie and little muscle pulls and slight pulls, but his legs are much better this year, particularly early when he was stealing bases 3 consecutive games.
And that's taken inside. He was not running. I'm sure part of the equation too, you're dealing with Zach Duke, who's got a pretty good move too. Don't run yourself out of an inning over there. A little tougher against that left-handed pitcher. Here's Molina with nobody out and runners at first and second. Molina grounded out to short his first time up.
What do you think? You think if Molina would have been batting with Pujols?
Yeah, I do too.
Pujols over at first base, because he doesn't swing and miss often, and his ability to go to the opposite field, I think Tony would have run there. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. And the thing is too, if you're a team that doesn't steal a lot, you generate some type of offense, and some way, somehow, you got to do it. Why not do it with a guy that, like you said, makes contact, hits it to the opposite field, and Pujols running well. First and second, nobody out. Molina into center. Pujols will tag up. Ball was hit right on the button.
Right on the button. Albert. You always look back in a game and you can see Albert what he'll do, but let's look at the pitch. See where the location is. Frames the ball right there, and if without the swing and contact, that ball would have hit dead center in the glove. Albert sees it. It's a line drive. It's going to be caught. Immediately gets back there and tags up. Just those little things to give himself in a better scoring position. More ways to score from third than second.
So 1 out, runners at first and third for Chris Duncan. Duncan has hit into some tough luck. Last couple of nights he's hit the ball hard, but right at fielders. He was celebrating a birthday yesterday.
28 now.
I'm not sure if they've changed the notes, but I think
Maybe
he's 29.
It's 28 on the notes, so we'll have to check that.
He told me, he goes, I feel like I'm 40.
He's so lucky.
First and third, 1 ball, no strikes.
It's a tight breaking ball. He's 28 now. For yesterday, he was 27. They should count.
1-1.
1-1 count. Fastball away. Following up that good slider out there. And watch Duke. Just in those little times we've been framing the ball for you. He's hitting his spots. And that is something where I think it's making him a winner. That he can execute pitches on the locations that they call for. And they have the ability to pitch inside. There's a slider again.
Got him to chase on the first one and hits that one off the end of the bat.
Doesn't have a tremendous break, but it doesn't need one. All you have to have is slight movement, a good effective old-fashioned slider, only broke an inch, inch and a half, 2 inches at the most. But it looked like the fastball, and then it just had that little running action and downward action where a hitter couldn't center it. It's like the curveball.
2-2. Give Duncan credit for not chasing. As a younger hitter, he would do that.
And I think the Cardinals have seen so many left-handed pitchers this year, so many starters, that Duncan, Schumacher, these left-handed, Ankiel, that at least they know what they're trying to do. Here's a slider again. Harder than the curveball. Keep it away from him.
And Duncan rips it into deep right field. And it's off the wall. Young couldn't come up with it. Duncan on his way to third. Couple of runs coming to score on the triple. Cardinals back on top thanks to Chris Duncan. It's 3-1.
You're going to see the correct pitch to a hitter like Chris Duncan, but bad location. Instead of being down and away, he leaves it in the middle of the plate. And Delvin Young goes back, almost, kind of throws the glove up there. It looked like it was much closer to naked eye, but he had no chance of making that catch. And then he gets too close to the wall and couldn't get the carom before Duncan gets the triple.
Here's Khalil Green with 1 out. Pitch location to Duncan.
You want this down and away, and you can see it ends up a little bit higher in the zone. Still in the strike zone, and Duncan, his great strength, 1-arm swing.
Green, shallow center. Duncan tagging up at third. Here he comes. Surprised him a bit, and he scores.
Yeah, absolutely right, Dan. They took it for granted. And McCluth he's a Gold Glover out there, but he never assumed that Duncan was going to run on him on a shallow, fly ball to center field. Give Jose Oquendo credit. He was right down the neck and said, "You're going to go. Hey, they're not going to run on me. I'm a Gold Glover." And he was caught a little bit flat-footed and didn't have that good throw. Khalil Green never thought he'd get a sac fly and an RBI out of this one. Look where Oquendo was, right down his neck, telling him,
you're going. He surprised me. McLeod, you could just see when he got it, just that little hesitation. And it cost him. 4-1 Cardinals. Here's a ground ball slowly hit to second. 4-1 Cardinals. You know that Albert Pujols is aggressive when he's on the bases, and he liked this. His reaction. Collect the first in a series of 5 historical All-Star Game lapel pins on Thursday, May 21st, when the Cardinals take on the Cubs. 25,000 fans ages 16 and over receive the first pin, a tribute to the 1940 All-Star Game. It's courtesy of Bank of America. Aggressive base running by Duncan leads to a run, and his triple brings in 2 others.
Got a quality pitcher out there in Zach Duke. You know, you've got to lead, but you've got to get greedy, and you got to be hungry. Everybody on that bench loves to play aggressive baseball.
Let me ask you this: from when you were playing to what you see now, you don't mind seeing the aggressive play? Because I wonder, comparing to when you played, the outfield arms on plays like that, you know, how it relates to what we see now. I mean, now, why not? I mean, I'd run on everybody.
That is a philosophy of so many, and I know El Kendo, is force the defense to make mistakes. Even at this level, more times than not, they will. And especially in today's baseball, because the emphasis is so much on offense. You know, that's why a guy like Pujols or these all-around players are so impressive. Now, Nate is a former Gold Glove winner, but, you know, he goes, you know, hey, I've got a reputation now, I've got a good throwing arm. He kind of gets himself in position, but he never assumed anybody would run off him. Once again, you know, you can, if you always play aggressive, always assume they're going to run on you, do things the right way, you know, and this is a big no-no, is right after your team gives you that lead. It happened in the 2nd inning after Albert's home run. Box goes out there and gives up a run and ties it up. Now, after his team's getting 3 runs, you walk the leadoff man, and that's how you get yourself in trouble.
Freddie Sanchez 1 for 2 with the double back in the first.
That's the 5th walk already.
5 walks, and he has struck out 4 on the night, and he's allowed 4 hits and a run. And the run was back in the 2nd. Pirates and Brewers last night, nearly 4 hours. They had 17 walks in that game. The Pirates didn't make it to St. Louis until around 2 a.m.
Well, you know, that suspended game in Washington ended up 10-10. I think, you know, that Houston walked in 3 runners, you know, in the same inning. How do you do that?
This is the 2nd visit for Dave Duncan with Mitchell Boggs.
And they're going to get somebody up. I mean, he could lose, possibility of losing this victory because of that inability to throw strikes. He's already at 80 pitches. Trevor Miller starts throwing. This is when a situation where everyone in the bullpen said, hey, I'll come up and be the vulture. I'll get that win.
Fox Sports Midwest now on Facebook and Twitter. Become a fan of Fox Sports Midwest on Facebook and see Cardinals video and photos, and follow us on Twitter and get Cardinals news and analysis during the game. You can find our links at foxsports.com/Midwest. When you get the lefty up, you've got McLouth on deck, and then certainly you'd have him ready for Adam LaRoche, if not sooner.
Young, a switch hitter, and then 2 more batters later, you have another left-hander.
This will help. The 2-0 pitch, a fly ball into center. Now in that situation, John Russell saying, wait a minute, just walk the guy. He's walked 5. He's 2-0. It's got to be perfect.
Let's go back to the philosophy of, okay, I want you to be aggressive in the strike zone. But when you pop up a pitch like that, a pitch that you can't drive or you can't do anything, that's when your manager comes back and say, wait a minute, that's a terrible at bat, because you have the count in your favor and then you get yourself out.
Check on the runner. Morgan at first. He was leaning. Nyjer Morgan, a former hockey player, grew up in California and actually moved to Canada for 3 or 4 seasons. And there he goes. Throw by Molina, not in time. Got a very good jump, and still Molina was able to gun it down to second. A pitch that he had to backhand.
You steal off the pitcher. box slow to the plate. But Molina, with that great throwing arm, he makes it a close play. But really had no chance at all. And John Russell feels that, that's one of the ways that he can get back in this game is take advantage of the slow delivery to the plate.
There's a 1-0 pitch to Nate McLouth. That's low. 2 balls and no strikes. Some people have said that baseball will return to speed, and the numbers show that this year stolen bases are way up.
Thinking about that, you get pitchers that are bigger and bigger.
Down the right field line, fair ball into the corner, and a run will score easily. That's Morgan, and McLouth on his way to second.
Pitchers have gotten taller and taller, and you rarely will ever find a pitcher 6'4" and above that has a quick move to first. So you get those good jumps and you steal it off the pitcher no matter what the manager or the catcher can do. Ball up out over the plate, and check out this. They do not like what they've seen, and this is a valuable lesson that a young pitcher can learn. You're carrying an extra pitcher, but hey, you don't walk people. We give you a lead, go out there and take advantage of it. And he just may have flirted and lost a ball game.
This is our Chevrolet call to the bullpen. Trevor Miller in the 5th coming in to face Adam LaRoche when we come back. So Trevor Miller is in for the Cardinals. This date in history, 1951. Cliff Chambers walks 8 but no hits the Boston Braves 3-0 back in 1951. And our Schnooks this date in baseball history. 10th appearance for the lefty Trevor Miller, and on lefties he's been great.
Been very good at retiring. His 10th appearance, as you said. He's allowed just 2 hits to 19 left-handed batters and only walked 1. I am not a big proponent of carrying 8 relievers and shortening your bench. But if you're going to do so, you better use them. And I think right now what Tony did sends a very valuable lesson to Mitchell Boggs. Is we don't accept, and he wants his pitchers and his starters to go deep in the game, but he also wants to win a game that you have a lead in.
Young guy, if it's an older guy, that doesn't happen. More than likely.
You'd like to think the older guy is smart enough not to walk 5.
Right. Especially after he's just been given a 3-run lead.
After you give it a lead, and then, let a good offensive club. This is a good young team that you hate to play.
LaRoche into center. Back is Colby Rasmus to make the catch. Quickly back into the infield. Long fly ball out.
Dan, you don't like to play young teams like the Pirates, who have a lot of talent, but they're still trying to find how to win. How many of the years that they lost? This is 16 plus 16 losing seasons in a row. You play them early in the season, and they don't know how bad they are. Or in the case of the Pirates, they've got a good young nucleus, but they don't have all the depth. So when they start having injuries like Wilson and Domet right now, they can't recover. But playing them early in the season, they think they can play and compete with anybody.
Andy LaRoche on deck, and this is Young. It's curious if Tony was only going to have Miller face 1.
In this early in the game, you don't want to start going through that bullpen. And remember, the last 2 days they've had to use a lot of them, but they had plenty of rest coming into this homestand.
Right. 1 ball, 1 strike with 2 outs and a runner at third.
And you would believe, he would hope that he could get out of this inning, and he turns the switch hitter around.
It's a good pitch. Backdoored it a little bit. 1-2.
Trevor really is more in line for your situational lefty, but you're going to have to get some right-handers out because you turn a switch hitter around, or you're going to have some pinch hitters that will come in for a left-hander.
2-2.
Kyle McClellan is warming up, so you would think Kyle would be extended in this game. Remember, the pitcher spot is batting 8th, and Boggs made the final out of the 4th inning. They want the slider. Is going to be a fastball in.
2-2 pitch. 3-2.
Good pitch there. The only thing he was going to do if he hit that, it was either going to be weakly hit as he would jammed him, or if he hit it, pulled off it, hit it hard, it would be a foul ball. But now it is a full count. He'll get the slider.
And he just missed. So there's a walk, and 6 have been issued now by the Cardinals. 1 by Miller, 5 by the starter tonight, Boggs.
That may be it, as Tony will come out of the dugout with McClellan ready. McClellan's already coming out of the bullpen before Tony's even signaled.
Our Chevy called to the bullpen. Kyle McClellan coming in. Miller faces 2. So Tony La Russa back to his bullpen. Runners at first and third with 2 outs here in the top of the 5th and a 4-2 Cardinals lead. And the batter is Andy LaRoche with 2 outs here in the 5th. First pitch, a ball. McClellan was slated to start on Sunday afternoon in Washington. In the pen, pitches thrown the last 4 days.
Third of the inning on Monday, throwing 5 pitches, but with that bad weather in Washington, he was going to make that start.
Remember, he piggybacked Chris Carpenter during spring training. Once they felt Carpenter was healthy enough to go, McClellan then was moved back to the rotation, or rather the bullpen, excuse me. 2 balls and a strike. Andy LaRoche on base a couple of times. The Pittsburgh third baseman with a walk and also a single. Numbers for Kyle this year. Had a tough spring, but so far so good, as opponents only hitting .205 against him. And I know you're not a big believer in roles in the bullpen, but he is probably the guy you'd think about for that 8th inning. But here he is in the 5th.
In the perfect world, he would be the 8th inning guy. But obviously, as some of those roles are still emerging, you find him here in the 5th inning. But that is somewhat a factor, is because he can be stretched out and give you multiple innings. And remember, Brad Thompson, who is your quote-unquote long man, has pitched the last 2 days.
2-2 pitch from Kyle. Gloves it. Nice play. Fires to Albert Pujols and gets out of the inning. Pirates strand 2, but they pick up a run. And coming up for the Cardinals, the 9th place hitter, Colby Rasmus, Brian Barden, and Joe Thurston. The rookie, Colby Rasmus, the center fielder tonight, leads it off when we come back on Fox Sports Midwest. Here's Colby Rasmus, first pitch. Fly to center. That's how we start the Cardinals half of the 5th. McLeod puts it away. And Colby is 0 for 2. You bring the entire family to Major League Baseball's All-Star Fan Fest, July 10th through the 14th at America's Center in St. Louis. And tickets are available at allstargame.com or by calling 888-FANFEST. All attractions are included with the price of admission. Looking forward to the All-Star game. We're edging closer to it. By the way, Joe Strom, Vice President of Ticket Sales, informs us that the Cardinals now are over 2.9 million sold. So they'll be above 3 million once again this year.
Yeah, the great Cardinal fans never fail to surprise you. With the economy, the Cardinals were at one point very concerned about the 3 million mark. Last year they were 3.4. And they kind of said, well, we'll get there at $3 million, but now I think they're the way this ball club is playing and with the great marketing schedule that they have, but the best marketing is winning baseball, and maybe we'll get back to that 3-2.
And I think that's the goal now. They feel that they can get to that 3-2 mark, and we've got a 9-game homestand coming up after we head out on the road for 6. It's Milwaukee, Chicago, and then we'll see Kansas City, which is always a big draw. I wonder if we'll see Zach Greinke and his .40 ERA. Well, what a neat story he is.
Oh man, that kid had, he had some sort of like an Ankiel-like story.
Backhanded it short. The play made by Vasquez. Well, don't miss Bud Light T-shirt night Friday, May 15th of that upcoming series at 7:15 against Milwaukee. The first 25,000 fans ages 21 and over receive a Bud Light Cardinals T-shirt. Thanks, Brendan. For tickets, go to STLCardinals.com. Joe Thurston. It's been amazing to me is the empty seats in both New York stadiums. Watching some of those games on TV.
It was over the weekend where they had a long rain delay at Yankee Stadium, and some of Yankee employees were telling people that the game was canceled.
It was 2 nights ago against Boston.
Against Boston,
against Boston of all teams.
And after what, a couple hours of rain delay, and then some employees told fans that the game had been canceled. People got outside and they found out, that was incorrect, and they would
no return policy.
They have a no return, wouldn't let them back in.
That's brutal. 4-2 after 5. Cardinals on top here at Busch Stadium. Our Bud Light, what's on tap? Bud Light, the difference is drinkability. As Todd Wellemeyer, 2-2, making his 6th start of the 2009 campaign tomorrow. And we'll be on the air at noon. The Cardinals and the Pirates on our Bud Light, what's on tap? 6th inning rolls in. Here's Ramon Vasquez as McClellan will pitch this 6th inning, maybe the 7th. Who knows how deep he'll go. He said his idea the other day in talking with him was, look, if you know you're a bullpen guy making that start, it's even more important then to throw strikes and be efficient, to stay in the game, to get deep into a game. And he said, to come to think of it, I don't know why I just don't do that all the time.
and you mentioned that I'm not crazy about roles. I'm going to put a disclaimer on there. I think it does really benefit everyone to have a defined role. But this early in the season, when things are still evolving and changing, you come to the ballpark every day, you assume you're going to pitch, and your role is to be ready when called upon. It's like you just said with McClellan. It's like he starts analyzing what I'm going to do, and then he realizes that, hey, whether I'm starting or whether I'm coming out of the bullpen, that should always be my goal, is to control the pitch count, to go out there, pitch aggressively.
And he also said at the end of last year, he said physically and mentally I was fried. I got to the end of that year and he said it's nobody's fault. He said it was just very tough on me, and by the end I was worn out.
And I don't think it was his fault. There were times when he was overused out of necessity. But he was the best available pitcher, and he had a remarkable time. I remember one time I went up to him and I put my hand lightly above his arm and said, "Now raise your arm." And he wouldn't bite. He goes, "I can't." There's times when you're used to the point where you have no arm strength, but in your mind, mentally, you have to know if you're called upon that night that you have to go out and assume your responsibility. How you do that is by saying in your mind, justifying, as there you see a very good pitch and a strikeout, down away, get a hitter reaching, but in your mind you sit there and say, now look, if Tony had somebody better available, or somebody that he thought would would be able to do this job better than I. He called upon him. So he knows I've been overworked. And there you see a great pitch, getting the hitter. That's the key. Get ahead in the count, then have a hitter expand his zone and get himself out. But if Tony had somebody better, he'd be calling upon him.
Fastball and strike.
So all he's really asking you to do is the best possible job under the circumstances. Go as long and as hard as you can. And, you know, when your time's up, he'll call on somebody else. But you don't have any other than, you know, you've got the two veterans situational lefties. You got Franklin. Those guys know their roles. The rest of them are young kids. They don't have to necessarily know their role. Their role is they know that they're going to pitch somewhere, ideally from the 6th inning to the 8th inning.
0-2 pitch in the dirt.
And there's not that much difference. You go out there and you attack the hitter.
And, you know, the 9th inning gets so much of the glory, but those 7th and 8th innings are tough.
And that 9th inning is going to fall on Franklin.
Right. And I'm sure, and Tony has even talked about it with us, watching and curtailing his innings and pitches of both these guys, McClellan and Franklin. You keep these guys fresh, they're going to be awfully good. He seems to just love that role of being the closer, too.
Everything that was said, written or said on talk shows or everything, the emphasis was that it's going to be Perez or Mott going to be closing. But I'll guarantee you, Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan told Ryan Franklin, you be ready mentally and physically, and he is.
1-out walk, tying run now comes to the plate. You know, the one guy that maybe helps you define some of these roles is Blaine Boyer. And the Cardinals are really excited with what they're seeing out of Blaine Boyer in his last couple appearances. As they should be, too.
Very good point. Very good point. And that's another reason, as you see Blaine Boyer, who they revamped his motion and really changed him from a 4-seam fastball pitcher to a 2-seam, that he's another guy with 3 years of experience that allows Mott and Perez the proper way to you know, get some practical experiences, still kind of a control and make it a winning situation in an area where they're not overwhelmed. Those guys will get those 8th and 9th innings in time. It probably won't be this year.
Yeah, and
on a consistent basis.
Mott getting loose with a heavy ball out there and just trying to loosen up the arm. There's Perez and Denny's Reyes, and there's Mott. Isringhausen, when he was with the Cardinals around this time, would start to stretch. He would start to get loose. There's a double play ball. Oh, it took a bad hop on Green and into center field. I'm going to give him an error on that play, but it looked like it took a tough hop. Hot shots on our Exmo cam.
You see it come up on him and goes, instead of staying down, it hits him right around the thumb on high on the glove. It scored a base hit. And, you know, it's hit hard. You're coming over there. Now they scored an E6.
So now they scored the error officially.
First said base hit. Now they charge an error.
It's a tough error. It looked like to be a bad hop.
That's one of those situations where sometimes you think of a team error because you don't want to penalize a pitcher, but you had a bad hop. It's a bad hop.
There's Nyjer Morgan, so we're back to the top of the lineup. And Green now, surprisingly, has already committed 6 errors on the year and out to visit Dave Duncan. Trying to calm down his young right-hander. Well, there's no doubt baseball is a grind. And these last couple of games have been a grind for the Cardinals.
And not to be an apologist, you know, and you talk about a little mechanical right now, but the Cardinals have had such a grind to start this season. Now they had 2 rainouts and really only 1 scheduled day off, and they won't have their second official day off until May 11th. So they have been grinding this out to start the season. Later on they'll pay off with some bonus days off later on in the schedule.
And Morgan hits a little flare into right. It drops in for a hit. And the bases will be loaded. Runner had to stay put. Jaramillo didn't rate it all that well, but he'll advance to third, and now you got the bases loaded and only one out.
Jaramillo, catcher out at second base, does not read. If you look in there, you're looking in and you see the jam shot, you listen to it, you're going to know that that ball was not going to carry far enough and get down. Here's Duke. He read it much better than his battery mate.
And now you get Freddie Sanchez. Very, very dangerous here. Sanchez out at second. Double play. And Thurston was taken out at second. Pumps his fist in the air on the turn. Normally he's been at third, and he made the turn at second. They came barreling into him as Morgan was taking him out. Two, the Cardinals on top, and Cardinals baseball is brought to you by AT&T. Switch to the nation's fastest 3G network and order a Big Mac extra value meal at McDonald's and get huge discounts on great seats. And the first pitch to Pujols taken outside. It's Pujols, Ludwig, and Molina. Albert with a home run back in the first. Singled and scored a run in the fourth. Pujols rips it up the middle. Again, one of those situations, Al, where he tried to go inside, and again he's able to position his hands right in the right spot to take it up the middle.
Waste.
Left on base, you see the 9 for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you get the feeling that the Cardinals need to add on and pile on in this game, because so far the Pirates have not taken advantage of the many opportunities they've had.
Cardinals have just stranded 1, as you saw, and 9 for Pittsburgh, and here's Ludwig.
The Pirates have 6 hits, an error committed by Cleo Green, and also 7 walks.
Dennis Reyes has been getting loose in the Cardinal pen, and looks like some activity will begin now for the Pirates. Time is called. Pitch count, though, very low for Duke.
69. He did have a game earlier this year where he threw 120. That's one of the real aspects that has changed, the pitch count, and pitching coaches today and managers are just so under the microscope that if they allow a guy to go longer into a game or throw a high pitch count and that guy gets hurt, they just are going to be criticized. But if you talk to any really starting pitcher, they'll tell you that 120 and 130 pitches was the norm.
Probably should be.
Should be, but they've been pampered and babied so much during the minor leagues.
I've talked to guys now that say they feel better actually when they go deeper into games pitch count wise, as opposed to when they only throw 90 pitches.
Think about the old days when it was a 4-man rotation and the starters would throw batting practice in between starts and throw 300+ innings.
Ludwig pops it up. Long way to go, and it drops in for a hit.
Wow.
And Pujols winds up at second base. Delwyn Young, it looked like he almost gave up on the ball near the line, and it drops in for a base hit.
Right-handed batter, and had to be way off the line, but it just looked like he ran way off the plate, gets underneath it, a pop-up. You see him running hard. He just never got there. I think he slowed up just so he'd be in a position if it took a bad bounce, it wouldn't get away from it.
You're right. Ludwig and the Cardinals catch a break. He must have been playing really deep. That's with a right-handed batter, too, and right.
Sure.
Molina 0 for 2. He's grounded out and lined out. His line out was to center. 2 runners on. Duke would love the double play here.
Burnett, lefty throwing in that bullpen. Another former #1 draft pick.
Pirates now seem willing to spend money for their farm system and draft picks. Signability.
Signability that you got to, if you're a small market, it's even more critical to develop your own players.
Throw down to first, trying to sneak in behind Ludwig.
Talked about the Pirates that have lost 16 straight seasons, had a losing record. So you know they've gotten a lot of top draft picks, and Joe Kerrigan is going to go out and talk to Duke. But when you're not, you know, when you're one of the factors in not selecting the best player, but you're selecting a player that you know you can sign for less money, you know, you're just defeating the purpose of rewarding, you know, the bad teams through the draft process by not taking the best players available.
Another losing campaign would be 17 in a row under 500. The major league record that they've tied at 16 was set by the 1933 through 48 Phillies. Different era of baseball, and you would think with all those picks at some point you might just get lucky and develop a couple.
Well, and really, when you look at a draft, many times is, you know, throw away the first or second pick, because those guys are supposed to make it to the big leagues. But how many of those picks that, you know, they're way out there, that you just find one of those real prize players that you know, maybe was overlooked.
Runners go, a hit and run, throw down to third, and Pujols is out. Rare time you see Molina swing and miss.
You have runners at first and second. The only thing, and you'd like to see it more, a lot of times you do not see this because managers are worried about the line drive and had triple play. But you can always do it with Molina. It didn't work this time, but he makes such good contact. He rarely strikes out, and you can see he's mad at himself for not making contact.
Saw a play the other day that the Diamondbacks turned to triple play, very similar because of what you're talking about. Runners going, nobody out, and the line out, and an easy triple play. Misses low and away. 2 balls, or rather 3 balls and 1 strike now on Molina. We're in the 6th, and the Cardinals lead it 4-2. Runner at second is Ludwig. And that's ball 4, and it brings in Duncan. Chris has had some damage done tonight with a triple that scored 2. And then while at third, he tagged up on a shallow fly ball by Green at center. Very aggressive play and scored a run.
Last time out, I thought it was the proper pitch or a good pitch, and it looks like Duke's days through as John Russell is down the second visit this inning, and Burnett will be coming in.
But you were going to talk about that slider with Duncan.
Slider, but you know, good pitch, but the problem was location.
So another lefty coming in to face Chris Duncan. It's 4-2 here in the bottom of the 6th. Hilton St. Louis at the ballpark is the only hotel that gives you home field advantage and an extraordinary Cardinals baseball experience. For reservations and information, number to call is 314-421-1776 or visit HiltonSt.Louis.com. Hilton St. Louis at the ballpark. They mean right across the street. There it is. Great place to go before and after games as well. Sean Burnett, 14th appearance. 2.53 ERA, and opponents only hitting .114 against him.
You like this move?
Well, I do, just because I think Duke was running out of gas a little bit.
Well, put it this way, he shouldn't be with 77 pitches thrown.
Didn't it seem that way, though? He just wasn't hitting his spots.
Not hitting his spots, but, you know, if he's going to be your ace, and
got to go deeper.
And you know, and they know him better than we do. But you've got to go back out there. Duncan rolled over on a ground ball the first time up. Then he did get a hold of a mistake pitch, error in location, and hit one off the right field wall, driving in 2. Do have the lefty-lefty matchup. And they have 3 lefties down in their bullpen.
And some people will say, well, this is not the right move, and that's also another reason I would say it is, that you have 3 lefties. So
well,
if you need to burn more, you can. But after he hits the triple, let the starter face him second time through here, right after that.
I think part of the maturing process is you got to let a guy get out of jams. And, you know, it's early in the season. You want to establish that I have confidence. And we're talking about Zach Duke, that, okay, you know, it was a bad pitch because of location. And it's just like a manager making this decision. It could be the greatest decision in the world, but if a guy has a bad night, you know, he makes the decision look bad.
Sure. 2-1. Good to see Duncan producing against lefty tonight.
Seeing many more, and that helps your confidence because you hold your ground. You don't bail out of there. That front shoulder is so important for the hitter.
Duncan rips it into a double play.
Good move.
Tell you what, that John Russell, he's got a future here in the big leagues. Infinity game recap. The Pirates in town to face the Cardinals and Brian Barden. Nyjer Morgan, the speedster. He struck out to start the game against Mitchell Boggs. Albert Pujols would go deep tonight. That was in the first. He now has 11. Molina blocking the plate. Strong throw from Colby Rasmus. Khalil Green. Chris Duncan with his triple to score 2. And his aggressive play tagging up. And here's Denny's Reyes. That's the Infinity game recap.
This will be his 15th appearance. That leads the staff. Lefties are 3 for 16, 188 batting average against Denny's. And this is his 3rd consecutive day that he's pitched. So one thing, when you put Philly and you put Pittsburgh back to back, you're going to be making a lot of appearances if you're a left-handed specialist.
Here's Nate McLeod, Adam LaRoche, Delwyn Young. 7th inning, 4-2 St. Louis. If you're the Pirates, you have to look at Albert Pujols and think, is this all the time? Is he really like this?
His numbers against the Pirates,
it's just ridiculous.
Have to be his favorite opponent.
He loves going to that ballpark.
Well, you see, more home runs there than any other visiting player. Just as average, but you know, every aspect, you know, production numbers are off the charts.
Broken bat and popped up on the infield. Thurston didn't really have a chance to talk about it, but that was a nice turn by Thurston on the double play.
Especially with the runner barreling down on him. You know, Nyjer Morgan wasn't anything malicious, but he was just trying to break up the double play. Thurston held his ground, and he'll tell you that second base is the position that in his mind is his best.
Can play short, and we've seen him play third. He's played third very well. Here's LaRoche with 1 out. I was surprised in looking at the numbers for Denny's Reyes that he lasted as long as he did in the free agency market when you look at teams trying to find left-handed pitching.
Look at how lucky the Cardinals were that he was still available.
I mean, he had really good numbers in the American League.
He was at the World Baseball Classic when they discovered him. Here you're talking about getting the throw from Barden. No panic. You know, make sure he holds on to the ball, gets the out there, makes the good exchange, knows he's got the runner coming in on him, and you know, just kind of leap over him. And so far, so good for Reyes.
LaRoche strikes out for the 3rd time, 0 for 4. And here's Young, who walked a couple of times and also singled and scored back in the 2nd inning.
3 strikeouts for Adam LaRoche, who got off uncharacteristically with a good April, but May has been unkind.
His Aprils usually are just terrible.
Yeah, and this one was a good one, but it's not carrying over into young May.
2 outs. the right fielder Young. Ludwig on the move. Makes the catch. On the run near the line. Time to stretch here at Busch Stadium. Khalil Green will lead it off when we come back. The All-Star coming up with the grab and right. Bottom of the 7th here in St. Louis, and it's 4-2. Ricky Ankiel was on our pregame show with Jim Hayes, and here's what he had in a follow-up.
It was a feeling of relief, but at the same time, with the way I hit, I wasn't sure if there was still a possibility that there was a crack in there. Who knows? I mean, I hit that with a lot of force. I think the big relief came once I got to the hospital and the MRIs came back and the C-scan came back negative and everything was good to go. Then I knew that from that point on I would be okay, and whatever muscular stuff I had wrong, I'd be able to deal with.
It's Jim Hayes' interview with Ricky Ankiel in the pregame show, and Jim joins us now. And I know one of the questions for the Cardinals, Jim, for people that have just tuned in, your interview was outstanding, is trying to figure out whether or not the Cardinals, with this short bench, will have to put him on the disabled list, and I guess time will tell, huh?
He said the DL was a strong possibility. Right now, he says he's just sore. His right shoulder's banged up. His left side is banged up. And he's just happy to be up and around. He hopes that the soreness will go away and he can get back to playing baseball. But it is a wait-and-see proposition.
Well, you see Tony La Russa there, Jim. And Tony said to me in his office the other day that he spent the night next to Rick. Did you ask Rick about that, or did anybody talk to him about that?
No, I just know that Rick couldn't be more grateful for the support he's gotten from the Cardinals organization, from his teammates, family, of course, and also Cardinal fans. I mean, he said he's been flooded with well wishes.
Jim Hayes with us, and here's Khalil Green taking a called third strike at the knees, and the shortstop is struggling a bit here in the beginning of the season. That's how we start the bottom of the 7th. And speaking of that short bench, here's Adam Wainwright.
Yeah, Adam's going to pinch hit here, and one of the maneuvers you have to do with a short bench. Tony's philosophy is he'd rather play one position player short and have an extra arm in that bullpen. One of the problems and one of the reasons why they haven't made a decision and put Ankiel on the disabled list. First of all, they're hopeful that it's only going to be a couple days and he'll be able to bounce back. But there's really no deserving candidate. The best, the guy with the best numbers down there is not on the 40-man roster, Shane Robinson.
Right.
Did you get a chance to see much of Shane?
I did.
He's, he's in the mode of the bow hard stubby class.
Exactly.
I mean, he's a very small guy, but he was a fan favorite. Favorite down in spring training.
Swing and a miss by Wainwright. Remember in the game last night, and we were thinking Wainwright would be pinch hit for, but because of the short bench, he hit for himself, and it was a move that paid off with a base hit. He can hit. There's no doubt about that, but he's not a position player. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Pirates had a very, very good hitting pitcher in Donnie Robinson. And Donnie was a guy that was a starting pitcher for them at times, other times in the bullpen, but he was a big man and he knew how to swing the bat.
Adam Wainwright, left center. It's well hit and caught by McLeod at the wall. He gave it a ride.
Well, Adam, very good athlete. You get the right pitch, you can put a charge in one, but got a Gold Glove center fielder out there, and he tracks that ball down.
And here's the center fielder, Colby Rasmus, in the 9th spot in the lineup. McLeod was dealing with a oblique issue not too long ago. They've been banged up a little bit this year. Colby is 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a flyout, but a key play in this game was his throw to the plate. A strike on one hop to get the base runner trying to score.
And great, skate save, so to speak, as Molina takes his left leg, throws it out, sealed off the plate. Runner slid into it and never touched the plate because of blocking it with his left leg.
Right down the middle, 1 ball, 1 strike. Atlanta beats Florida tonight 8-6. The Mets over the Phillies 1-0. Tapped foul, 1-2. Get the feeling Rasmus is just kind of trying to feel his way as he gets through the first couple of months of this major league season.
I think that's a good explanation. I mean, he's not where he would like to be. And one thing that I don't like to see is how many fly balls he's hit. You know, back to thinking about the line drives. Slider.
Doesn't chase.
And we talked about how his power will develop. So right now he's getting underneath way too many pitches and hitting fly balls. He's only got 1 home run. He's got a lot of fly ball outs. Slider.
3-2. Works the count full. Nobody on. 2 outs.
This is where you're forced with, you know, with a healthy Ankiel, you've got 4 outfielders. You're forced. Fastball away. Misses and throws it on the inside part of the plate. But you know, almost every night you're forced to play 2 left-handed hitting outfielders against a left-handed starter. And these guys are getting a lot of at-bats, which is helping them get a lot of experience and confidence against another slider.
High fly ball out to right. Well hit and caught at the track. Young was there on the track to put it away. We move to the 8th here at Busch Stadium. 4-2 in favor of the Cardinals. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. So Jason Mott, who tried to close out the home opener, the season opener against the Pirates, comes in. 13 games this year, record of 1-1, and since that day, 10 2/3, 8 hits, 1 earned run, and a .84 ERA. That's not bad at all.
His first 2 outings, you know, he's kind of used as the closer. And
there's a ground ball hit to short. Green up with it. Makes the play easily.
Things weren't working there, but since they've kind of eased him in a lesser role, you know, he's been outstanding. He also, and it's not uncharacteristic, you see Schumacher now in left field. Just a straight replacement for Duncan. But it's not unusual for a real hard thrower like Mott for them to take a couple extra weeks before they start getting their velocity. You know, the cold weather really affects them. Opening day, he was throwing, you know, 82, 83, excuse me, 92, 93. Now he's starting to get it up there, 96, 97.
And it's a game of adjustments. This is Vasquez. Remember the comments made after opening day. Jack Wilson, LaRoche talked about it. They all said, look, the scouting report was pretty simple. Fastball, gear your swing up a little early and be ready for it. And, you know, since then, he's been better. And a lot of that is due to not a great slider, but at times good enough.
And there was one right there that he records the second out.
So 2 down. And Jason Jaramillo. One of those projects that's been turned around for Dave Duncan from catcher to pitcher. But Bruce Mantle was the one that originally said, hey, let's take a look at this because his arm is special.
Well, you know, breaking balls has always been a problem for him, especially as a hitter, which forced him to become a pitcher with a great fastball, but a work in progress with a breaking ball. Based on what we saw last September, I think it's remarkable how far he's come with that slider in such a relatively short period of time.
Rears back and just fires it. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He's fun to watch. He's got that mentality of, you know, give me the ball, let's go. He throws like a catcher, short arms it, and which is a little deceptive.
Here's a ground ball, foul. There's so many stories in the game of baseball about guys that Switch positions. Dramatic switches. Catcher to pitcher. Catcher to outfield like Jason Worth last night. If you have an arm, we'll try to find a spot for you on the mound if you can't hit.
A lot of times you'll sign a youngster and say, well, if he doesn't make it a 1, we can convert him.
There's the slider again. And a ground ball. Thurston there. Easy inning for Mott. 4-2 St. Louis. Four to 2 Cardinals. Bottom of the 8th rolls in here in St. Louis. The Home Depot. Bringing you more defense. And the play, Yadier Molina blocking the plate. It takes guts to hang in there and know that it could be a possible collision. Or at least they slid. We saw with Beltran. He didn't slide, and it cost them the game, and maybe cost them that series. Who knows what happens?
And, you know, notice on the bench there, he's had an ammonia capsule and breathing that a couple times. There he goes, kind of trying to, you know, wake up a little bit. But he is starting to develop that reputation as, you know, an excellent plate blocker. Does it very subtly at the last second, just slides that left leg out there, takes away the sliding lane. Somebody does it head first, you know, they're going right into his shin guard. They do it feet first. He's such a solidly built individual that he can just kind of kick that leg away and they don't reach home plate.
I know it's early, but at this point you'd have to consider him one of the guys to represent the National League in the All-Star game.
Why not? I mean, he won the Gold Glove last year. He's leading all National League catchers in hitting. Pretty good credentials from my take.
Yep. Inside to Barton. Barton in the leadoff spot tonight. He's grounded out to short, grounded to second, and lined out to center. Barton, Thurston, and Pujols here. The barrel of the bat. Some of the marks on that barrel.
Looks like you've been hitting a Sharpie.
Yeah, some guys have the batting practice bat and their game bat.
A lot of hitters that would not take a bat to the plate with all those smudge marks on it.
Barton a ground ball to second. And one away. And here's Joe Thurston.
Duke and Burnett have done a nice job of stopping the first two in the order. Combined Barton 0 for 4 and Thurston 0 for 3.
The thing about Barton and Thurston, when you talk to them, that's refreshing, Al, is they just don't take this for granted. You know, they've paid so many dues to get here that, and they don't want to go back. They just don't take it for granted.
Well, they both have experienced that, you know, of getting to the big leagues and not have, you know, staying. So that's why, you know, every day you're in the big leagues, it's not a right. You know, it's something you've got to earn and you've got to respect it and work hard to stay there.
Cut off by LaRoche, and a nice lead to his pitcher Burnett. Really ranging to his right. Looked to be an easier play for the second baseman, but he went and cut it off.
Adams always been noted as a very good defensive first baseman.
Hardy's prime cut from the other first baseman tonight. Pujols back in the first.
And John Russell is not going to let the lefty face Pujols, who is 3 for 3, including his 11th RBI. He's already scored 2 runs. To Chavez. Jesse Chavez will be coming in.
And he'll come in and pitch to Pujols in a 4-2 game in the bottom of the 8th when we come back. Four to 2, Cardinals lead it with 2 outs, nobody on here in the bottom of the 8th. Let's go pitch by pitch out on Albert Pujols.
Well, we're going to look at his at bats. The first time up, he gets a fastball, he hits it for a home run. Then they kind of go inside. He muscles it out for a single, another single up the middle. Hard to believe that they challenge him with 3 fastballs in the strike zone not hard to believe that he's 3 for 3.
Not at all. Jesse Chavez, 12th appearance. Let's see what he will do here with Pujols. Ground ball off the glove of the third baseman, and Pujols 4 for 4.
It wasn't a fastball.
That's, again, watching Pujols keeping his hands back, even though the weight has been shifted forward, and still is able to hit the ball.
There he's getting him out in front there, an off-speed pitch. And Albert 4 for 4. Leads the National League with his 11 home runs. He's got 31 RBIs to lead the senior circuit. And just adding to that average.
Ryan Ludwig, the hitter, with 2 outs.
364.
At some point late in a season, we're going to be talking about Pujols in the Triple Crown.
I was just thinking the same thing, Dan.
One of these years.
You're in trouble when you start thinking.
I know. I'm a little nervous, believe me. I know Bobby Cox has talked about that. His season numbers against Pittsburgh, 6-11. That's it. A couple of home runs and 3 RBIs. So, John Russell, why are you pitching to Albert Pujols?
He's got a ways to go to catch Beltran, who's batting over 400.
Get the feeling, though, he'll come back down at some point.
Oh,
he won't hit 400 all year.
That would be a very safe bet.
Yes, it will.
There's no betting in baseball.
No, there's not. Thank you, Mr. Rose.
This game is 4-2 Cardinals, but it seems like they have a much bigger lead.
And last night, the Cardinals at one point were down by 3, and it seemed like they were down by 10.
Right.
Just get that feeling sometimes.
Franklin is warming up for. It's going to be a throw to first base. How much the game's changed. That used to be my favorite pitch, the knockdown pitch. Now it's throw to first.
A little different. Ooh, Ludwig fouls it back. If the Cardinals hold on, Miller could be in line for the win.
Well,
Boggs did not go 5.
The rule is, when your starter doesn't go 5, and he leaves with the lead, it's up to the official score can make that determination. I don't think Miller gets it.
Miller only went a third, faced a couple of hitters. And that's up.
That was supposed to be a slider, but it just didn't really do anything. But it was not in a location where Ludwig could do anything with it either.
So you're probably thinking along the lines of McClellan then.
Well, McClellan could be a change up here or a trick pitch.
2-2.
McClellan would be a candidate because he went more than 1 inning.
Denny's Reyes has pitched in this ball game, and Mott pitched the top of the 8th and looked very good.
Now,
Milwaukee now in the bottom of the 8th, leading Cincinnati 10-3. Cubs leading 6-3 in the top of the 9th against Houston. Good battle here with these two.
Chavez is from a California native and was acquired from Texas July 31st, 06, in a deal for Kip Wells.
Memorable deal that it was.
Oh, fastball, and see if he's trying to get it to elevate it.
And it was low.
Why do we even look at the location?
You get so upset, and it makes me laugh. Why would we even look at it? It's supposed to be up, and it's down low. Franklin, Cardinals closer, coming in.
Cardinals lead it 4-2 as we go to the 9th. Coming up after the ball game on the post-game edition of U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live. Pat Paris and Rick Horton will break this one down. Albert Pujols as Pirate Hunter. We'll look at Albert's phenomenal success against the Buccos. We'll also look at Yadi's great defensive work tonight. Plus, our one-on-one with Rick Ankiel will run in its entirety. It's all coming up after the game, guys.
Okay, Jim, thank you. Jim had an outstanding visit with Ricky and Keel in the pregame show, so you see that. A lot of people wondering about his well-being. Brian Franklin is into the ballgame, and this will be his 12th appearance of the season. He's perfect in save opportunity, 7 of 7.
Not only that, he's just been perfect, period, with the way he's been pitching.
You watch him pitch, I mean, when he misses, he is barely missing, and it's not often.
At the 0 ERA, Brandon Moss will pinch hit here.
And you saw Moss with Boston last year and came over in that big trade. 0-1 pitch by Ryan Franklin. Here's a ground ball. Pujols is there. Steps on the bag for the out.
Ryan really can get a lot of lefties out.
Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser, who thanks you for being a designated driver, and by Bank of America. Cardinals banking only at Bank of America. And that's an element of his game that kind of gets overlooked, the fact he can get righties and lefties out.
That splitter, he can throw, in the low 90s and effectively hit spots.
Niger Morgan. I've watched the glove of Molina not move now on 3 pitches that he's caught. And that's what he's been doing. I mean, where he sets up is where Franklin is putting it.
Good pitch.
Thurston is there. 2 away. Turn now to our Budweiser great player of the game. Budweiser, the great American lager. Yet again, we turn to number 5, Albert Pujols. 4-hit night for Pujols with a solo home run back in the first. The Pirates down to their final out. Pujols is our Budweiser player of the game. Impeccable control right now from Franklin.
There's an example of it right there. Is we just finished that final half inning talking about why do catchers throw location. Well, with Franklin, you can do that because he can hit his spots with all of his pitches.
2 strikes now on Freddie Sanchez.
He's thrown 7 pitches. 7 pitches, 6 of them for strikes. And this will give you an idea of what we're talking about. Look at Yachty's glove. It goes up a little bit, but, it's just slightly up. It wasn't 3 or 4 inches either way, or a foot or 2 either way.
The 1-2 pitch. Don't mind that. He bounced it in the dirt.
No, and you saw Yachty had his glove nearly on the dirt, trying to throw that breaking ball down and away, get him to chase. It's a 2-2 count. You won't want to go any further. You want to end the game on this pitch.
Crowd on their feet. 2-2. Pretty big hack there by Freddie Sanchez. Pinpoint control again from Franklin.
You want to hit. You want to retire this guy on the 2-2 pitch. You don't want to get a 3-2 to where it's based on the decision of an umpire. Let the players do it. Make the pitch close enough to where they're going to swing. This batter cannot beat you, so throw strikes.
The 2-2.
Had him reaching. This is a former National League batting champion that Ryan is facing. Several 2-2. Oh, look at that.
From La Russa to that kid, to Molina, to Franklin.
I think he has studied Tony a little bit too much. Didn't want to split a curveball.
Here it is. 3-2.
This kid was getting carried away. He was assuming there was somebody on base flashing those defensive signs, but last thing you want to do is walk somebody. You can't. If you walk somebody, you allow the opposition to think that they're getting back in the game. There's a slider, and there's his slider.
Fly ball, right field. Ludwig Cardinals win it 4-2. Nice job, young man. Ryan Franklin gets the save. The Cardinals get the win. A 4-2 the final. On just 7 hits for St. Louis tonight. But it was enough. First inning home run by Pujols in a 4-for-4 night. U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live is coming up.
Game is over with a Cardinal victory over the Pirates. We're getting ready to bring you U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live. Rick, a much-needed win tonight.
Both teams had lost 3 straight. Something had to give tonight. Great finish for the Cardinals bullpen, and they got the 2 big hits in this game, Albert Pujols and Chris Duncan.
Certainly right. Much more on that coming up. Plus, yes, the Cardinals have been roughed up in a 2-game series with the Phillies, trying to bounce back against the Buccos. Could Mitchell Boggs keep racking up the Ks? We'll break down his start. Plus, we'll bring you Tony La Russa's post-game press conference and take you inside the Cardinal clubhouse for player reaction. And he's mad as heck, and he's not going to take it anymore. It's another edition of Rick's Rants. Happy birthday, Sigmund Freud. You'd be crazy not to stick around for this edition of U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live.
Welcome to U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live.
And he unloads again. Left center, gone. 1-0 Cardinals. Pujols, 11th of the season.
One of Albert Pujols' 4 hits on the night. Home run number 11 gives the Cardinals the lead. They go on to win by the final of 4-2. Just enough offense and just enough pitching as the Cardinal fans file out of Busch Stadium happy following that 4-2 victory. Hello, everybody, and welcome back inside Busch Stadium. It's a post-game edition of U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live with the former Cardinal hurler Ricky Horton. I'm Pat Paris. Coming up, we'll take you inside the Cardinal clubhouse, bring you Tony La Russa's comments as well. We'll break down Mitchell Boggs, start to talk much more about Albert Pujols' night as well. And Rick is going to rant. But before you get angry, Mr. Horton, tell us a little bit more about your thoughts on this game.
I'm happy right now because I'm looking at what Albert Pujols did in this ball game tonight. He homered in his last at-bat last night. Couldn't wait to get to the ballpark to homer again. But I really give a lot of credit to this Cardinal bullpen for settling this game down after Boggs had a little bit of control issues early on.
Exactly right. Remember, you can get involved in the program as well because it is U.S. Cellular text time. Text us your question or comment. 432-432 is the number. Remember to include your first name, where you're texting from in that message. Standard text messaging rates to apply. Let's go right back down to the field. Jim Hayes just moments ago catching up with our Mid-America Chevrolet Dealers player of the game. That's Chris Duncan. Jim.
Chris Duncan hit the ball hard all over the field tonight. Did have a 2-run triple to show for his handiwork. First, the win for you guys, getting back in the win column. How big for you?
Yeah, it's huge. After 3 losses, it's good to get back on the winning side, and I think we pitched really good today, and everyone took good at-bats, and it's good to be on the winning side again.
It's also good to post some numbers. You're doing that this season. Is that just a question of being healthy finally?
Yeah, I feel good. I've had some injuries that I've dealt with the last couple years, and I think it affected my confidence a little bit last year, but I'm definitely feeling better and more confident, and hopefully I can keep it rolling.
The other night when Rick Ankiel collided into the wall, you were first on the scene. How relieved are you to see that he's back in the clubhouse joking around with his teammates, just a little sore?
I mean, that's really scary, especially as outfielders, and see something like that happen. It's pretty scary, and unfortunately nothing bad happened, and he's back in the clubhouse and everything's good.
Congratulations on the win. Thanks for the time.
All right, no problem.
Chris Duncan, send it back to you, Pat.
Jim, thank you very much. Chris Duncan now hitting .284, and you could make an argument that all 3 of those balls he really ripped. It was just, unfortunately, only the 1 hit. The other 2 were lineouts, but he had a very good night. Let's go back to the broadcast booth right now. It's a view from the booth. It's Dan McLaughlin and Al Roboski putting a wrap on this one, and as mentioned by Chris Duncan, nice to get that 3-game skid ended right now tonight against the Pirates.
Well, it sure is, Pat, and you mentioned at the start of the show that the pitching was good, the offense was just enough, and Al, how about the defense? At times the defense was very, very good tonight.
Well, they had a lot of base runners, but the defense really made a difference, and it starts out here. Best throw we've seen from Rasmus, a great block by Molina, sealed off home plate. Khalil Green circles the ball, has to come and throw one on the run. He did a nice job. Barton gets the ball to Thurston. He gets upended, but they complete the double play. And really, Ryan Ludwig had a tremendous jump on this ball, ran hard and made a nice play out there. the Cardinals walked far too many in this game, but as Ricky said, the bullpen kind of settled down. McClellan gets the win, and this was a big win for the team.
And thinking about that bullpen, how about Ryan Franklin and the start that he's off to here in 2009? He's just been terrific.
Well, he's 8 for 8 in save opportunities. He's not allowed to run yet this year. And so, I mean, you just wanted to continue this. But the way he's doing it, he's making it look so easy. He's not laboring out there, very few pitches, even though, Sanchez really kind of tested it right there. But it's still, he's getting guys out, and he's a master in control of the situation.
Well, Jim Hayes had a chance to visit with Ricky Ankiel. The pregame show, you'll hear that later in our postgame. Good to see him in that dugout last night and again tonight. You'll listen to that and hear that interview and watch it with Ricky Ankiel coming up later in the show. Back over to Pat.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Right now we're going to take you down live. Tony La Russa addressing the media, brought to you by the Painting and Decorating Foundation.
It's pretty striking. Is it just a matter of things coming together for him?
No, it's a matter of him being healthy like he was when he first got here. When he first got here, remember, he hit home runs against left-handers. And he just, he hasn't been healthy for 2 years, so what he did in his first, end of 06, first of 07, that's what he's capable of doing.
Tony, with Yadi, we always talk about his defensive play, but tonight, just an almost unnoticeable thing about where he put his foot to block.
Well, he is a legitimately great player. I enjoy watching him play. He blocks. These guys have the ability to throw the ball in the dirt with a runner at third. They have no fear. He did it a number of times. He's a tough out, hitting 300. He's smart. You watch the way he worked. And, he made several trips. He tried to get Boggs through it. He can do it all, except run. Everything he can't do well.
Was Boggs pretty close? He kept getting out of the trouble he kept getting himself into.
Well, I think it's a learning experience for him. First inning, he looked one way, we scored in the bottom, and I think he came out the next inning, and you see it done all the time. A guy tries to be too careful, and he was different and barely escaped. He pitched well in the third. He came out there in the fifth. We scored. He walked the off man in the fifth inning. When you've already shown you've struggled, so I got to get him.
Just your thoughts on the bullpen and the double play ball that McClellan got to get out of the sixth line.
It's a great pitch. This guy's hitting 300, very tough out, and the runner was all over Thurston. Barden gave him a quick throw right there, and Joe turned it. We did some good things defensively.
The throw from Kobe in the second to get the runner at the plate?
Yeah, that was a huge run to save. And, he took an offer, but he had some good swings against, he had as good swings as anybody against Duke.
You've had the ninth more or less stabilized for a little while here. Yeah. To what extent is what gets to there getting a little stabilized or crystallized as well? To what extent is that clear?
I think they're all feeling good. They're all contributing. It's not. It's not so by formula because guys are not available. I feel comfortable with the guys that are available. They can all go in at any time. So you rarely have like today. I wasn't going to use Chris. So I just think that we got a nice depth there. Boyer's added to it, and Ryan. That's without history against that club, come up there. He made outstanding strike one, outstanding pitch to get the first 2 outs, and then got the third. 1, 2, 3. So I just think, like my answer is, if everybody's available every day, then you could see something. But you just take who's available and see who you're playing against.
Tony, is Chris healthier than anyone really could have predicted he would be after that surgery? From what you've seen so far.
Well, I can remember the decision to get the surgery, and the guy said, well, if you're a football player, it'd be the end of your career, but baseball, as long as you can avoid, and that's what he's got it. We don't want to slide head first in home. We want to be careful breaking up double plays. Don't want him running into the wall. But if you knew the pain he was in immediately in recovery room, he felt better. You get optimistic, and all went along. He worked out here, so we were in touch with him all the time, and he just got better and better and stronger and stronger. And I asked him today, I said, how you feeling? Because he just played 2 days against. He said, I feel great. Good.
Let's go to highlights. Let's begin, Rick, last night. Remember this?
I certainly do remember this off of Brad Lidge. We know the other home run he hit against Brad Lidge, but this one was a bomber, 440 plus. That's his last at-bat, Pat, last night. He'd actually had an offer going into that at-bat,
right.
and he may have turned things around because today he was perfect.
First inning tonight. This one off Zach Duke into left field, into the stands. 11th homer of the season, 330th of his career, 1-0. Same score in the second, bases loaded, 2 outs for Nigel Morgan. Lines a base hit to center. 1 run comes in. Colby Rasmus up firing. A strike to Yadier Molina, who blocks the plate nicely, and they get the out. And you look at the Exmo camera of ours, and you can see that Yadi did a nice job keeping that foot off the plate. We'll talk much more about that coming up a little later. To the 4, still 1-1. Chris Duncan up with 2 runners on, crushes this one, and it just misses going out. How about a 2-run triple, second triple of the season for Duncan, puts the Cardinals back on top 3-1. Next guy up, Khalil Green. Good to see him back in lineup. Little pop fly here to shallow center.
Are you kidding me?
Duncan tags him third. Nate McLeod obviously surprised by that. A throw off the mark, and Duncan
deep
scores.
shortstop.
Deep shortstop is right. The Cardinals' aggressive base running makes it 4-1. To the top of the 6, now 4-2. Redbirds, the base is loaded with only 1 out. Freddie Sanchez, though, hits into the 5-4-3. Kyle McClellan, the beneficiary. And Joe Thurston took a hard slide there, but he was able to hang on, and so did the Cardinals, 4-2. And the Cardinals, well, they kind of escaped this one, Ricky. It had a feel that at any point it could get away, but it didn't. And as you mentioned, you've got to give credit to the Cardinal bullpen as they pitch terrifically after that and allow no more runs after Mitchell Boggs leaves the game with those 2 runs.
One of the numbers we don't show on that line score, 9 left on base for Pittsburgh. That's really the story of this game. They had some opportunities, especially early on against Boggs. Probably the most important pitch of this game was Kyle McClellan's double play ground ball to Freddie Sanchez, who's a very hot hitter and a very good hitter, and that was a big out in the 6th inning of this game.
Kyle McClellan gets the win. Mitchell Boggs does not factor in the win. We'll talk more about his night a little later on, but the Cardinals now 7-2 when he starts a ball game for him. So one of those kind of guys, doesn't always get credit for it, but certainly gives his team an opportunity to win.
He's had the highest run support of any Cardinal starter. That's actually a stat that they do keep. And Boggs, just was not quite good enough with his command today. It seemed like he's got to the point where he's really comfortable in this Cardinal rotation, but he didn't look comfortable tonight. And again, the strikeouts are up. That's something new for him in his career, but the walks, way too many walks, and that's why Tony La Russa had to go get it.
We're going to talk about the strikeouts later on U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live. Let's talk about the run support that he got. And, well, I think everybody's happy when Albert's in the lineup because, of course, he's a one-man offensive support by himself.
Well, he was 4 for 4, and it's hard to go much better than that, Pat.
No,
he
you can't do any better
4 for 4
than
today.
that.
The home run, his 11th of the season in the first inning, 31 RBIs on the season, and Dan and Al opened the Triple Crown conversation. I love it. It's only, what is it, May 6th, thank you. We're talking Triple Crown, but why not? Albert Pujols with a base hit in the 4th inning. He later scored in the 6th inning. Well, ho-hum, another base hit. And you know what? He hits the ball hard, Pat.
Every time.
He absolutely hits the ball hard. Even his last hit, which came in the 8th inning, was pretty hard hit, and he was off balance. Hard enough so LaRoche could not make the play. All he could do is knock it down and keep it as an infield hit instead of a double. An unbelievable night tonight for Pujols. But you know what? He's always done that against the Pittsburgh Pirates.
132 games now against their division foe, a .371 batting average.
That's Ty Cobb kind of
number. An on-base percentage of .458, slugging is .690, 37 homers, 109 RBIs. It's practically a season for Albert Pujols against just this one team. And by the way, the 11th time in his career that he's gone 4 for 4 in a game, the second time he's done it against those Pittsburgh Pirates. Would you believe, though, in those 4 for 4 nights for Albert Pujols, the Cardinals are now just 5-6 in those games. That's a head scratch.
Well, he won the game himself almost tonight. Chris Duncan, of course, was our star of the game, and he had that big hit. But Albert, of the Cardinals' 7 hits, he had 4 of them. So not a lot of production at the top of the lineup. Both Barden and Thurston 0 for 4 in this game, although they've been good. But Albert pretty much did it with just a little bit of help in terms of the offense.
You're right, and maybe it speaks to how good of a pitcher Zach Duke has developed into that the Cardinals were only
much better. He seems like he's got better stuff to me.
Yeah, he really does. And we saw him early at the start of the season as well, and he looked very good then. And I think this is a guy the Cardinals are going to run into a lot. And you think about all the great pitchers on the Cubs and perhaps the Brewers, but don't forget about a couple of these guys on the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Only the second home run that Duke has given up all season long against Albert. And how about that? Cardinals beat a left-hander. Maybe we should stop talking about that.
7-3 now against lefty starters.
Pretty good number.
There's a stat for you. When we continue on U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live, we'll talk about the strikeout king, Mitchell Boggs, when we return.